My crazy landlord made my life a living nightmare for over 3 years, constantly retaliating against me anytime I cause any kind of problems in his life, as well as refusing to fix several things in my house that were crucial to keep things up to code. So I decided to finally get some revenge, not only by reporting him to the building inspector, but also by getting the police involved. And now, as a result, my landlord is being charged by the police with a felony for breaking and entering. And I've honestly never felt better in my life for getting back at someone who honestly deserved it. Here's what happened. So I want to start off by saying that my landlord was a terrible human being. Honestly, calling him a human being is even pushing it. Here's just a few things he's done to me over the past 3 years. He stole my dryer and other household products that are in a common area. He made me pay for a plumbing repair which was deemed normal wear and tear. He tried breaking into my house, and he retaliated against me because I went to my lawyer after he sent me a letter about a parking spot. He even tried to charge me an extra $150 a month. Now, mind you, I was never late for rent in 3 years, except for when he made me pay for the plumbing repair. So the next month, I was a couple of days late. But honestly, the list goes on. Now, this apartment was nowhere near being nice. I found out the plumbing was illegal. He left me with a porch for years that has severe safety issues. The ceiling paint was always falling down. The gas heater was also not up to code. And again, the list goes on. Finally, I got my chance to leave after he wanted to raise my rent by $500 a month. I mean, he will do anything and everything to get more money out of his tenants. So I called the building inspector 4 days before I left, and I told him everything. The porch, when he finally replaced it, didn't have a permit and was definitely not up to code. I told him about the plumbing and the heater, and I just went on and on. Well, the inspector came over the very next day, and I saw him taking several measurements. And each violation is $500 a day until it's all fixed. Now, I honestly don't know what happened, but my God, did it feel good to finally get back at him. And now, at the very least, he's on the town's radar. A week before I moved out, he tried telling me I needed to be out at a specific time, but I never responded, and I didn't tell him where I lived because that's just not how it works. He tried to say that the police would be called if I wasn't gone. So I went to the police myself that morning to warn them, and the landlord did come by, and he did try to bother me and really cause problems, but I just called the police, and they informed him that I was in the right. Long story short, he had broken into my apartment while I was gone, and when he got in, he nailed my door shut. Well, I told the police to get a supervisor because I was so over being treated like this by this guy. And go figure, he left before the supervisor could get there, because I'm positive he knew he would be arrested on site. I got the police report, and they're charging him with a felony for breaking and entering. So the moral of this story is that you shouldn't be a jerk to good people, especially when they haven't done anything wrong. Wow, your landlord sounds like a piece of garbage. This guy not only retaliated against you, but he also broke into your house and nailed the door shut. Not to mention constantly bothering you and being like, oh, you're gonna be out on this specific time or else. And with the myriad of things you've dealt with over the past 3 years, I honestly don't blame you for getting out and getting away from this guy. It really seems like he was trying to strong arm you left and right and was clearly used to treating you like garbage on a daily basis. I mean, the plumbing situation alone would have made me lose my mind. So seriously, with all things considered, it is honestly beautiful karma that you got this guy in trouble. And not only with the building inspector, because I'm sure that probably cost him a lot of money, but also with the police. This guy can't just break into the apartment and do whatever he wants. You have rights as a tenant, and that is not okay. So the fact that he nailed the door shut is literally just a nail in his coffin, because now this idiot has to deal with felony charges for breaking and entering. And honestly, this guy got exactly what he deserved, because if he had just treated you right, then all of this could have been avoided. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled old jerk makes my girlfriend uncomfortable as he steals my seat next to my girlfriend at the pool. So I decided to put him in his place by telling him to get lost, causing him to have a full-blown meltdown as he was furious that someone would tell him what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I got a pool pass to a resort for me and my girlfriend. She's a single mom, and I try to treat her anytime that I can. We go to this resort and we find some chairs. She has pale skin, so she likes to sit under an umbrella, while I like to sit under the sun. We find places with 3 seats, and I put our stuff in between us in the middle seat, and then we just go about our day. Now, I would like to say this place was empty. There were maybe 10 people there for this huge resort pool. So basically, there were tons of empty chairs. So I go to grab some drinks, and the minute I leave, some 80-year-old jerk takes my seat. And and then in the process tries to start talking to my girlfriend. When I finally come up and I see what's going on, he literally says that I should leave. Like, this guy walked around the pool and sat right next to her. Now, I know my girlfriend is good looking, but seriously, what is happening? Now, I can tell by my girlfriend's face that she's really annoyed by him sitting there. He's leaning in trying to talk to her, and when I make my way back, I get in front of him and I say, "You're in my seat." I don't say please or sir, none of that. I just stare this old jerk down and I get really close to him. Well, he very quickly got the point and he decided to leave. But shortly after, he came back and he said to me, "What makes you think you can tell me where to sit?" And at this point, I just went off on him. I said to him, "I told you to leave because you're being really creepy, and I don't want you around me or my girlfriend." He said to me, "You can't talk to me like that." But I just respond back by saying, "You sure? You wanted this confrontation, so you're getting it." Now, if I was you, I would go take a walk before something bad happens to you. The guy eventually gets in the pool and says, "I'd rather swim." Now, this wasn't really loud, but the people around me definitely heard this, as this old man looked around with no idea what to say. I mean, he looked stunned, where he even looked around for some kind of support from anybody else around him, but not a single person came to his defense. And I'm honestly so sick of creepy guys like this. He even tried to sit next to another young woman too, even with his wife watching from the distance. And I honestly haven't been that mad in a very long time. Yeah, that's really weird in my opinion. Here you have this old guy literally going around the pool sitting with all these young women. Meanwhile, his wife is like literally right over there. And by over there, I mean probably like less than 50 feet away. That's really weird because you just don't know his intentions and you don't know if he's gonna try some weird stuff with your girlfriend. So I don't blame you for telling this guy to get lost because the way he was acting was very creepy. Am I the jerk for not going to a family dinner at my sister's new restaurant? All because it would have supported my sister, who has hated my guts ever since we were kids. Here's what happened. I'm a 27-year-old female and I'm the youngest in my family of 7. I have 2 brothers and 4 sisters, and the restaurant in question is owned by my sister, who we will call Daisy. Daisy and I are both close to other members of our family, but she and I were never close, and she has been pretty awful to me over the years. She would try to get other siblings to exclude me, and when they wouldn't, she would say mean things to me. We shared a room until we were 18, and she made the experience miserable for me. She would beg to get her own room or say she wanted to share with another sister, but being as close in age as we were, our parents decided we needed to keep sharing. She would even ruin some of my things when she was trying to get our parents to separate us. She even ignores me as an adult. I was the only person excluded from her 21st birthday party, as well as from her college graduation, and so on. We see each other when we're at our parents', or if we have something going on in the family. Our younger brother has asked her in the past why she hates me so much, especially when she doesn't hate anyone else. Well, she told him that I ruined her life. And of course, she didn't give any more information besides that, but just simply claimed that I ruined her life. She said she wished I was never born and that she would be happier if that was the case. She also said she despised every second of sharing a room with me and wished that I could have just gone missing just to get me out of her hair. Now, when I heard this, I said to myself, okay, fine. You know what? I have 5 other amazing siblings. 5 siblings is more than plenty. At this point, Daisy and I are not sisters. We're just 2 people who happen to share the same family. Now, fast forward, and of course, I knew nothing about Daisy opening a restaurant until it was almost time. And as you can probably guess, she told everyone else except for me. It was mentioned in passing in front of me, which is the only way I found out about it. But my parents wanted the family to support her and decided that we should all have a family dinner just so we could do that. Well, when this got announced, I refused to go. I said I was not supporting her. My parents told me that I needed to go, and most of my siblings weren't really surprised. I mean, one of them was kind of, but they still agreed with me in the end. They told our parents it made 0 sense for me to be there, and Daisy would hate seeing me in her place anyways. In response, our parents just said, oh, families support each other, and all this other garbage. Well, I ended up not going, and 2 of my siblings left during dinner because apparently some things were said about me not showing up. My parents said that I should have put our differences aside and shown Daisy what family does for each other. They told me that she could have come around to me if I just showed up. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. If I was in your shoes, I would have stayed away as well. Daisy sounds incredibly toxic, and toxic for like no reason. It doesn't sound like you did anything. You didn't like offend her or attack her or anything like that, even when you were growing up. It seems like Daisy just didn't like living with you until 18, so she decided, oh, you ruined my life. Not to mention the fact that she tried to turn all your siblings against you and has openly excluded you from like literally everything going on in your your life. So it's crazy to me for your parents to be like, oh, come on, just give her some money by eating at a restaurant. That'll make her come around and like you again, right? Like, no, you haven't done anything. And also, what differences are you supposed to put aside? The only difference you have is that Daisy hates you for no reason. You didn't do anything and there's no like conflict. The only conflict is literally just coming from Daisy. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. Your parents are completely delusional. And the fact that they would still say something about you not being at the dinner, in my opinion, shows how toxic your parents also are. And that is absolutely unfair. An entitled security guard jerk criticizes me for carrying less weight than my wife, stating that it's not fair and that there must be something wrong with me if I'm allowing that to happen. But before I could even get a word in, my wife decided to chime in and effectively put this guy in his place in the best way possible. Here's what happened. So to start things off, my wife is Swedish and incredibly strong-willed and independent. She also works in a physical job, hauling around 70-pound bags of product all day. But in the end, she is very petite with blonde hair and is always treated as fragile by older men, and she absolutely hates it. She refuses to let me help carry groceries most of the time and is very adamant that she doesn't need my help. After many years of this, I've learned to only help when she specifically asks me to, which is something that she does when needed. Also, I ruptured my Achilles tendon last year, and it's a long recovery, so my balance and leg strength is still not back to 100%. So, because of that, she is extra careful about letting me carry anything. Well, a few weeks ago, we were hauling some boxes into an event, and we had been carrying them for a while already from the car. My wife asked me to take the heavy box as her arms were getting tired, so we swapped loads. She now had 2 boxes, but together they weighed about 1/3 of the weight of the heavy box. As we were walking into the event space, an older security guard comes walking towards us, and I thought he wanted to check our boxes or sign us in, but instead he walks up to me and points at my wife, and he says, "Now that's just not right. You should be carrying more than a little lady here. What's wrong with you?" Now, I started to brush him off, but my wife decided to chime in. She said to him, "I don't need anyone carrying anything for me, and neither one of us asked for your opinion." Well, when my wife said that, the guy immediately went flush. He then started muttering about how he was only joking, and he said that as he walked back to his front desk. His performative chivalry was deflected by a modern woman, and I'm sure he'll be remembering that interaction for months to come. Yeah, I can't stand when people do something like this, especially because this guy could have easily just minded his own business. Like, he didn't have to chime in and be like, "Oh wow, you're not carrying enough weight. What's wrong with you? Why would you make her carry more weight than you?" It's like, buddy, what are you talking about? More boxes doesn't mean more weight. And even if that was the case, who are you to say what people can and can't do? The original poster's literally recovering from like an Achilles tendon injury. And just from what I've looked up, that looks like a serious injury. That's like not something to laugh at. So the fact that this guy said anything in the first place is just so rude. But I can say that your wife put him in his place in a fantastic fashion. And hopefully that's enough for this guy to learn his lesson. Am I the jerk for telling my child-free brother that I should inherit our parents' house when they pass away because I have kids and he doesn't? Because right now he is calling me selfish. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my wife is 43 years old and I'm 49. Some 9-year-old twins and an 11-year-old. My parents are in their late 70s and my brother is 52 years old. His financial situation is not very good, partly just because of bad luck, but he also made some questionable decisions. For example, he quit college before finishing his degree just to try and start his own business, which struggled along for a few years, all before going completely under. He is child-free by choice and single not by choice. He had a girlfriend for almost 10 years that he spent a lot of money on, and she ended up leaving once she found out how much debt that he was in. Our parents have helped him out a lot to get him out of debt and also deal with the emotional consequences of all of this. He now owns an apartment and has a stable, decently paying job, but he has barely any savings. My wife and I both worked even while raising our kids, so we are in a good situation money-wise and on track to retire in maybe a little more than 15 years. My brother had a lot of resentment to me for a long time, all because I had the good fortune to basically get everything that he wanted or even wants. I mean, I have the best wife ever, I have a good job, I'm living close to our parents, the list goes on. Now, we have an okay relationship now and we do text each other very often. My family lives very close to my parents' house, only about 20 minutes away, so we have been very close with them over the years. They are wonderful people, and my wife also has a very loving relationship with them. We spent almost all holidays together, and my kids grew up with their grandparents' house as a second home. A lot of their best memories are there, along with my own childhood memories. Well, recently my brother came to visit our parents parents. He was staying there and we also went to visit. My parents wanted to talk about inheritance with both of us since they are getting older, and they thought that this would be a good opportunity. They said they had some savings, but it was all probably less than half of what the house was worth. My brother immediately said the only fair thing to do was to sell the house and divide the money. I asked him if he cared about whether or not this had been the family home for 3 generations, and he said sure, but it is too big of a house for one person to live in. I said, well then I should get the house so my family can live there, and that my kids would be sad if the house was sold. Well, my parents agreed, and they said they wanted their grandchildren to be able to live in the house. They said my brother can get everything left over, and I agreed as well. Well, right now my brother is very angry because this is unfair, and he says I manipulated them into agreeing to give me the house. He says he wants the money so he can have a retirement savings, which I really do sympathize with, but I think my parents are being fair, especially because they've already given a lot of money to him. He says they are biased against him because he doesn't have a perfect big happy family. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation for the way I want things set up? Because right now I'm seriously not sure what to do. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest, but yes, I think the original poster is absolutely being a jerk right now. Everything in my opinion should be split 50-50, and just because you have a wife and kids doesn't mean you're automatically entitled to that house. Your brother has just as much of a right to half of that house and all of the inheritance just as much as you do. And if you really want to keep that house, then you absolutely should be paying 50% of the house over to him. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from, and like you think the house has some kind of like generational value, and I don't doubt how you feel about that in the slightest. But to straight up claim, oh, I deserve it more than you because I actually have a family, like that's just super rude and that's completely uncalled for. So yeah, I think you would be the jerk to go this route because this is very unfair for your brother. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for telling my best friend that she needs to grow up after she moves in with me and my mom and does literally nothing to help out with the house? Here's what happened. So me and my best friend by the name of Ruby, that's not her real name, are both 19 years old, and we've been best friends for about 8 years now. I told her and her mom that they could stay with me for a while after her dad kicked them out of the house. For reference, this guy is crazy and thought that she was cheating, but she definitely wasn't. Anyways, I asked my mom if they could stay with us just long enough for them to get a place, and my mom is a really nice person and she said okay. Now, this was back in August of 2023. I let Ruby stay in my room because she had a cat that had to stay in there because I have 3 dogs and they are not the best with cats. The only problem is that her cat is wild and literally will not let me sleep. So basically, I just gave Ruby my room. I've been sleeping in my mom's room with her, and Ruby's mom sleeps on the couch. I was also bringing them both to and from work every single day because neither of them have a license. Now, for reference, I work up to 30 to 40 hours a week, and I am in college doing classes online. They don't pay for anything, except for Ruby's mom does get some food stamps, and sometimes she'll help out with food. They don't pay gas or rent, like they literally pay nothing, and my mom won't even let me ask or tell them to start paying. They say they're looking for an apartment, but I just don't know for sure. When it comes to Ruby, she literally just doesn't do anything around the house at all. And the worst part about it is my room is a complete mess. We wash her clothes and fix her food a majority of the time, and her mom will help out with the dishes and cooking on occasion. Ruby's mom and my mom have become really good friends, but Ruby and I just keep drifting apart. I keep trying to influence her to practice for her license. I mean, she bought a car about 3 months ago, and my mom has been helping me bring them to work and back. But Ruby just won't do anything. She keeps hopping from job to job because she said she doesn't want to work. And to be completely honest, she's not very good at working either. So recently we got into a little bit of an argument because she said I'm never home. And I said to her, well, yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to do and I've got to get stuff done. She then said to me, well, it seems like you don't want to be around me and you keep being so selfish to me and your mom. And I know I was being rude, but I said to her, well, because I don't want to be around you. You are childish to be around. When you grow up some, maybe then we'll get along. Well, after I said that, my mom got mad at me and said it was completely uncalled for. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. I really don't think you're the jerk here. I think Ruby and her mom are completely out of their mind if they're not going to work and also live with you guys. Like, it really doesn't sound like any of them contribute anything to the house, especially Ruby, and like neither of them work or are doing anything to advance their position. Like, how is that fair for you and your mom? You're working 40 hours a week and doing college while also giving them a ride pretty much anywhere they want. And also, how do they not have a license already? I know some people are slower with getting that stuff done, done. But in this situation where you have a car and you've had one for 3 months, like in that case, you really should take the initiative and get a license. It literally doesn't make any sense to sit there and be like, well, I just don't want to work. But like, ask any working adult. Most people don't want to work either. Everyone on planet Earth would love to win the lottery and then move on with their lives. But clearly that's not objective reality. Ruby needs to get a job and get a license so she can actually contribute. And you know what? For her comments towards the end of this where she's like, oh, you're never around anymore. You're being really selfish and it seems like you don't like me. Honestly, if someone took over my room, made a complete mess, and then did nothing to contribute to the house, I would probably stop liking them as well. Now, I'm not saying that what you said wasn't like really mean, but in my opinion, it kind of makes sense why you snapped at her. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, and I really hope for the sake of you and your mom, these two move out and find their own place. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.